What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Swilly Plays. We are back, part 2 of our top 20 games of the year for the year 2022. Today's it. 10 through 1. What you really came here for. It's going down today. There were some really tough calls that I had to make in making this list. Starting at the very top of this, at the back half of the top 10. 11 and 12 in the last video with Tiny Tina's and Mario Strikers very easily could have been in that 10 through 9. Like 9 to 12 was very close. And 4, 5, and 6 when we get to that. Also very, very close. So I hope you guys enjoy this list. Let me know, as always, am I crazy? Do you agree? What were your favorite games of the year? Without further ado, let's get into it. Stray on the surface is a game where you just run around as a cat doing cat things. If that was all it would still be a great game. But there's a very charming world outside of the cat gameplay that I fell in love with. You find yourself in the slums of a city full of robots who all have their own lives and tasks that you find yourself in the middle of, all while trying to find your way home. Gameplay is puzzle-based, mostly involving running and jumping around through small places only a cat can get through. This game truly shines in the quiet moments where you aren't really progressing, but just being a cat. There's a robot you can give sheet music to, and each one unlocked a new song that he will play. There's a pillow next to him that you can lay on and take a cat nap while some chill music is playing. Honestly, my favorite part of this game was two things, both control based. One, that part where you're sleeping next to the guy who's playing the music. Anytime you're sleeping, the controller speaker makes like a cat purring, snoozing noise, and the vibrations really feel like you have your ear up against a purring cat. Like they just nailed the feel of it somehow. And there's other parts where you can go up to like a couch or a wall or a door or something and press triangle, and then L2 and R2 come up and you do that cat like scratching your claws into something, and the resistance and the haptic feedback on the triggers, it just feels like you can feel your claw like get dug in and then pop back out, and just the give and take of the, it's more controller gushing from a PS5 fan, but it's really, really good. Stray, and I love this game a lot. It's been since the launch of Pokemon Go since I found myself as addicted to a mobile game as I have been with Marvel Snap in the last few months. A wonderful deck building card game built on a simple premise: win 2 of the 3 lanes to win. Marvel Snap is just a perfectly made game for what it's setting out to do. This game could have been a microtransaction hellscape, but the mind behind Hearthstone, Ben Brode, took what he learned in the hair to create a perfectly simple, easy to learn, hard to master competitive card game that has zero pay to win qualities at all. There are an infinite number of card combinations you can put into your 12 card deck. Some of my favorite moments in this game actually have been facing somebody else and they're using a deck with some card combinations I never thought of using, getting destroyed, and then leaving and be like, okay, I'm gonna build a deck with those same cards, and seeing where they got that from and then using that to dominate people on my own. It's just so satisfying to do that. All of the cards look so good, with using them more helping to upgrade their appearance. Everything in this game that could cost money only goes towards making your favorite cards look cooler, and to top it all off, each round only lasts at most a few minutes, so it's easy to jump in for a round or two here or there to get your fix. I'm honestly not even a big Marvel, like MCU fan, but even if you're not, I highly recommend trying this game out because it's free to download and it's just a really good card deck builder game. It's just a lot of fun. You should try it out. World of Warcraft is one of my favorite games of all time, and it had an incredible new expansion launch this November in Dragonflight. My wife Tiff and I have played this together basically since we started dating, and it's our favorite game to play together. We're maybe the most casual players of this MMO in the world, so what we care about are fun zones to quest in and easy to play with features that don't require a ton of time investment. Dragonflight nails both of these. The zones are beautiful, the questing storyline is super fun, and the new feature, dragon riding, makes something as long-standing as flying mounts into something super fun and fresh. We love watching the Race to World First events each major patch, rooting on Liquid to take the title, with streams basically going all day every day until they complete the newest raid on Mythic difficulty. Watching that together plays a huge role into why I love WoW, and is so fun to bond over it with Tiff. It's just good fun, honestly, for us just to throw something on, like we're chatting on Discord while we're playing. And honestly, it would be a lot higher on this list if we just would have had more time to play it this year, but we just haven't so far. But I know it's good, and it's number 8.
The new age of dragons shall begin.
Cult of the Lamb is what you would get if in Animal Crossing they added a cult leader mode where you could make your villagers worship you, complete tasks for you, and throw them in jail if they even thought about disobeying you. Sounds pretty great, right? Well, luckily, developer Massive Monster did just that, and even threw in a decently fun dungeon crawling roguelike on top of it. You play as a lamb who has been killed, but brought back to life by something. They want you to take down the other 4 entities that are similar to them, all while building support for your own cult along the way. You collect villagers who join your cult, and through various farming sim activities, you build up your settlement, eventually getting to a point where it's self-sustaining and you can focus on progressing the game through the dungeon crawling roguelike portion. It really feels like it's two games built into one, where you've got your farm sim villager type stuff with a dungeon crawler type of vibe. I found myself liking the dungeon crawling part more later in the game, but the farming stuff bet more early in the game. Either way, if you find yourself not really loving one of those two things at certain points in the game, you go back and forth between them so quickly if you want to. You can stay in the farming stuff for a really long time, but because it goes back and forth so quick, this is a really bad game for just one more day, and then you blink and it's 2 a.m. and you gotta be up for work in 4 hours. That happened to me, maybe. Cult of the Lamb was maybe the most charming game I played all year, and that's wild in the game where a cultist can literally ask you to feed them poop. What a great game, no notes at all really. If you told me at the beginning of the year that one of my favorite games of 2022 and maybe some of the most exhilarating moments I've had in a game ever were going to come out of an anime-ass first-person speedrunning game called Neon White, I'd probably laugh at you and tell you to get far, far away from me. But I'll be damned if Neon White isn't a perfect video game for what it's setting out to be. I genuinely can't imagine this game being any better, especially in the first half, than what you can play right now. This game is all about speed. You want to finish the level in as little time as possible. That sounds simple, but there are so many complex mechanics at work here. It's all based around using different cards to fire different gun types, but discarding the card, providing a type of movement ability, and combining all of this into becoming an absolute speed freak. When you compare what your first run at a level looks like versus what a top 50 time in the world looks like, I have a few of those under my belt, no big deal really though. It's crazy how much of a difference there is in that. The story, in my opinion, is just complete trash. I have no problem with anime stories, but it's like so over the top anime. But in a game built around speed, they even put a fast forward button in for these cutscenes so you can just zip through them real quick and you don't have to pay attention to any of it. So like, they really nailed every little part about this game. If what you want to do is go fast. I fell in love with this game over 50 hours and became obsessed with beating Josh and Ben's times on each level before I let myself move on to the next one. The leaderboard absolutely adds to the addictiveness of this game. Honestly, a game hasn't completely came out of nowhere and surprised me like Neon White has in a very, very long time. And it's to the point now where like if going forward, a new game comes out and if I hear anything it's like, it's kind of like Neon White, and stop, enough said. I will check out this game. It will be at least worth looking into it because Neon White was so good. One of my favorite games of all time is the first season of the Walking Dead Telltale game. It sparked a love of decision-based adventure games where my choices can change the story, and I don't know if a game has done that better than The Quarry. I played through this whole game on my 2022 24-hour Extra Life stream, and we had so much fun basically just walking through an 80s teen summer camp slasher movie together. It's just so good. So far, including my own, I have heard details of 5 different playthroughs of this game, and each one is vastly different from the others. I love when your decisions truly matter and can shape the story into your own, and this game is a masterclass at that. It's slightly clunkier than you would hope given some of the very high-stakes action sequences, but so far that's par for the course on these types of games. I'd rather the time be spent on writing all these different outcomes, and it really works overall. The characters are all charming in their own ways, even the ones that are clearly too stupid for their own good, all combining into some of my favorite gaming experiences of all time, let alone of 2022. Oh, and always, moment of silence for Dylan. Hashtag justice for Dylan. I know these games have been wrecked by technical issues, and I want to start by saying they are all 100% valid and honestly unacceptable in a game this popular that makes as much money as Pokemon does. I want to start with that so I can quickly pivot into why I love these games. The new Pokemon designs are so solid from top to bottom. The 3 storylines all combine to give maybe the most personable and, in my opinion, best stories in a Pokemon game to date. I really like terastallizing as a mechanic, and I think it spices up battling in a great way. It doesn't fundamentally change anything, but being able to have 3 of your friends join your game and seeing them running around on their own adventures is just so cool to see in a Pokemon game. It's a shame that those technical issues I talked about earlier have been enough to make people stop playing this game sooner than they wanted to, or even worse than that, just straight up not buy the game at all. Because I do think that even beyond those issues, because I've seen some of the smaller stuff, but nothing major that a lot of people have had. There's such a fun core experience to this game that I just hope that somehow, some way, through a patch, DLC that comes out, I'm sure at some point, they can fix those issues for people, because there's such a good game underneath all of that. To me, as long as it hasn't rendered my game unplayable, which hasn't happened yet, I can look past those issues for the sake of Pokemon, and these new ones are in the upper half of mainline Pokemon games for me. Alright, Now that we're in the top 3, we are making a significant jump at how much I love these next 3 games from the rest of this list. Some great games came out this year, but these next 3 are in my top 20 of all time, no doubt in my mind. And we start with my most anticipated game of the year, Horizon Forbidden West. Zero Dawn is my favorite game of the last 20 years, and my second favorite game of all time, only to Sly 2. So I don't think I could have had higher expectations for this game, and honestly, it met almost every single one of those. First off, this is objectively the best looking game of all time, period. Anything contrary is a style preference, which is fine, but from a technical standpoint, these games are more impressive than anything ever made. Luckily, I also love its style. The contrast of old world tech that is futuristic to us, mixed with a much more simplified way of life and culture than what is around the people of Earth in these games, it's such a cool concept to me that as someone who isn't a huge sci-fi or Western fan, it just hits this sweet spot in the middle that I didn't know I wanted, but feels like it was made for me. The gameplay was really blown out in this game and includes so many more options than the first game that can be overwhelming, but honestly is optional once you learn about it all. Don't want to upgrade countless weapons or mess with wasting materials on something you might switch out? The good news is early on you will swap your weapons more often than it's worth the upgrade, and once I got to where I was finding purple items, I found I had plenty of materials to upgrade what I wanted to use as my endgame inventory, only needing to go hunt for a few items to fully round everything out. There are loads of new weapon types that are fun to play around with just to give even more options to the player if they want them. The new machines are incredible, especially the iconic Tremor Tusk, the quick as lightning Slitherfang, and the new big bad in town, the Slaughter Spine. As far as the story goes, overall I like the story more in the first game, but I really liked Aloy's current world problems in this game much better than Zero Dawn's. Tenakth people are so varied, and the improvements in the quality of the side missions do wonders for immersing yourself in this beautiful world. The characters that return, as well as the new ones you meet along the way, are wonderfully written and had me completely invested in their well-being, on the level with your crew interactions in the Mass Effect series. I spent a solid 100 hours playing this game to get the platinum, and I enjoyed it so much. If I had to nitpick any part of this game, it's probably the ending was kind of rushed. But knowing it's only the second game in what will surely be at least a trilogy, I didn't mind it as much because it's okay. We're getting a third game. Here's where it's going. Ultimately, I liked what they were doing, and I'm very ready for more adventures with Aloy. Thankfully, April of 2023 will bring us some DLC for the game, and I will be ready to jump back in for more Horizon for sure. Whether you own a PS5 or not, but especially if you do, play Zero Dawn and then play Forbidden West, and thank me later. Have you ever found a show right before its final season comes out and you get to binge all of it, perfectly leading up to the newest/final season releasing? I did that with Stranger Things earlier in the year, and my video game version of that was 2018's God of War, leading into God of War Ragnarok. I didn't beat that game until about 6 weeks before Ragnarok came out, and I am so glad it ended up working that way. My hype levels were at an 11, and this game crushed those expectations, even more than Forbidden West did. If anything, I think 2018 and Ragnarok are the same as the Horizon games to me. I like the story more in the first game of both of these, but I like the gameplay, the updates to the visuals, the mechanics, the character details. I like those a lot more in Ragnarok than I did in 2018's game. This game comes out of the gate immediately with a massive gut punch that I won't get into why, but if you've played, you know what I'm talking about. For obvious reasons, that hit me so hard this year, and it honestly set the tone right from the jump for what would be one of the more powerful experiences I've ever had from a game in my life. The relationship of Kratos and Atreus is well known for how great it was in 2018, but this game is the perfect progression of how that relationship would build and grow. Atreus coming into his own with curiosities that any teenager has, with Kratos wanting nothing more than to protect him, but knowing that if he tries too hard to do that, it will push him away. All that with the backdrop of Odin and his plans coming to the forefront in this game. In general, I can't think of a single character in this game that was written poorly or any amount of dialogue or interaction that I wasn't completely glued to my screen for, taking in every last word. The gameplay is familiar in a way that having just played 2018 made it super easy to get used to, but built on what the previous game did in so many great ways. More animations, more combos, more runic powers, more options for weapons, armor, and relic layouts. Endless options really to build the exact type of Kratos you want, all with that familiar but definitely improved and satisfying as ever combat. The hunt for collectibles can get frustrating when you find out you have to come back for something later, only after getting to the place in the game and it telling you this. But ultimately, all of them are still tons of fun to go collect and worth it. The puzzles are fun to solve, even if the characters are way too chatty and eager to give unwanted hints at times. There are moments in this game that I don't think any other game outside of the first season of the Telltale Walking Dead game, the Last of Us games, honestly, even Forbidden West had a moment like this, but there were so many moments in this game where I found myself either on the verge of tears or just full-blown ugly sobbing. Just insane that like a game could do that to you, and this game is unlike any other in that way. Sure, a good part of that is how the end of my 2022 went in losing Link, But even as I write this now, I'm getting emotional feeling myself being taken back to certain moments of this game, thinking of Link, and the writers in this game just perfectly nailed what this has felt like. I'm more susceptible to moments like this right now, sure, but it takes a truly great game to bring this out in such a strong and powerful way, and God of War Ragnarok does that. It's a perfect ending to the Norse duology, and I cannot wait to see what is next in store for Kratos and Atreus, whatever that might be. Didn't see that coming, did you? That neither Forbidden West or God of War Ragnarok were going to be my game of the year. I'm a huge Sony fan nowadays. I mean, they're kind of cut off, but they're up there too. There's Crash hanging out. I love me a good AAA Sony banger, and Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok were definitely those. But if you really know me, if you've known me like my whole life, you know that Pokemon Legends Arceus as a concept is a game that I have wanted for literally my entire life. All of us Pokemon fans out there, we have been dreaming for the day when we could play a Pokemon game on the TV, where we could run around freely, see Pokemon in the wild, and just throw Pokeballs at them to catch them, ditching the menu systems the main series games have had for decades now. Individual aspects of that are in Pokemon games now for sure, but none of them have like hit that part in my soul where like 8-year-old me is still daydreaming about what a perfect Pokemon game could be, closer than Pokemon Legends Arceus has. On the surface, this game could easily be dismissed as a step in the right direction, and ultimately I agree, this is not a perfect game. There's a world where they build on Arceus and they make what is truly the greatest game ever made. Tons of us have been driving ourselves mad at just the thought of one day being able to play that game. For now, we have Arceus, and that's damn good enough for me. This game takes place far in the past, before capturing Pokemon is as normal as it is in the main series games. The concept of a Pokédex is brand new, and you are tasked with fleshing out the very first one. This game's purpose is to finish the Pokédex, making it the first Pokemon game I ever did that in. I've never cared about catching them all, as crazy as that sounds, but this game changed that for me. Each new Pokemon game has a sense of discovery inherent to the series, not knowing what Pokemon are in each route as you approach, but none of them have nailed that sense as well as this game has. Going from like grass patch to grass patch, and after playing it more, spawn point to spawn point even on the map, and just waiting for the next Pokemon to pop up, like I've mentioned it a million times, I truly felt like I was a little kid playing my first Pokemon game again when doing this. It was so cool. Slowly exploring the first open area, the Obsidian Fieldlands, was maybe my favorite sequence in any game I've ever played. The amount of excitement I had seeing something as simple as a Wurmple or a Buizel, just because I hadn't seen one yet and couldn't wait to add it to my Pokedex to see what challenges I can complete for them, was just a constant stream of endorphins to my brain that I just couldn't get enough of. This is one of those classic games where like, when I wasn't playing it, I was constantly thinking about it. I ended up playing it for 280 hours, which is, I'd say, at least 3 times longer than any other Pokemon game I've ever played in my life. And I've played every single main series game. And right now, I want to stop recording this video, forget this whole thing, and go downstairs and play more of Arceus. It's just got me like that. This is also the first game I ever got into shiny hunting, which is super exciting for me. Mainline games seem to lean into this strategy for shiny hunting where it's a lot of like, you don't really do anything, and it's just, there's never really been my cup of tea really. But in Legends Arceus, I caught over 50 shiny Pokemon. Outbreaks and massive mass outbreaks, their names for things could use some work, I'll admit, made it so much fun to shiny hunt because to find them, you just have to play the game as you normally would. No hatching 500 eggs, no shutting your game off and playing Main Menu Simulator 2022. You play the game, you get shinies. They even added an audio and a visual cue when a shiny pops up on your screen, which are some awesome accessibility features that Scarlet and Violet came out 10 months later and they don't have that, which is kind of terrible. It was just by far the most pleasant shiny hunting experience I've ever had in a Pokemon game. I'm rambling, I know, but hey, we made it to the #1 spot and I want to show this game all the love I can because I know I'm in the minority when it comes to the video game outlets you can follow for reviews. This game is a basic ass 7 out of 10 to a lot of people, and that's fair. But I love this game, clearly. It was weird not having the traditional format at first. No gym battles, and honestly a very small amount of trainer battles at all. To some people that was a huge factor in why they didn't love it as much as I did. I didn't really miss them because I viewed this game as what it is, a spin-off. It's so different in so many ways that I honestly got over the lack of gyms and trainer battles pretty quickly. It's like this was my catch-em-all game with no battling, and the main series games have been the opposite so far. So the change-up was actually really refreshing to me. Now just because the gyms and trainer battles are almost entirely gone doesn't mean the combat wasn't mixed up in ways that I already missed in Scarlet and Violet. Agile and strong style moves would cost 2 power points to use but would alter the attack. Agile moves let a later attack happen sooner, as well as the current attack being more accurate at the cost of less power on this attack. Or stronger style moves giving your opponent 2 attacks in a row but boosting the power of this attack to try and end the fight before they get to attack you at all. They also removed Sleep and Frozen as status conditions and replaced them with Drowsy and Frostbite. Drowsy acts like paralysis, where you only have a chance of not being able to act in your turn, and you take more damage from attacks while you are drowsy. Frostbite actually is like Burn, where you take ticking damage each turn, but have a lowered special attack instead of regular attack. My favorite of these changes. All of these, if implemented into a main series game, I think would actually be really cool and a fun mix-up of those games too, and not just in Legends Arceus. And we can't forget my favorite new aspect of these games: Alpha Pokemon. Alphas are much bigger, meaner, and stronger versions of regular Pokemon with bright red eyes. They wander the open world like other Pokemon, but even if it's an alpha of a Pokemon that is normally docile, all alphas are ready to throw down on sight and can actually mess you up. Oh yeah, Pokemon will just straight up attack you as the trainer in this game. And alphas love doing that. They're so cool to have on your team and are great ways to show off the banger animations for attacks this game has. The art style, I think, is a choice not everyone loves and makes the graphics seem worse to those who do not like the look of this game. And draw distance is definitely an issue. The battle animations in this are another aspect that I wish would move to the main series games. Some of my favorite gaming moments of the year have come from playing this game. My wife Tiff and I played this game for hours and hours together and loved showing each other what was in different areas that we hadn't seen yet. Shout out to my good friend Sam, whose house I spent the night at the first weekend this game came out, and he somehow found an alpha shiny Rapidash. If you've played the game, you know exactly where it is in the first few hours of this game, and caught it. One of my favorite moments in gaming of my entire life, and it happened in this game. It was unbelievable. During Extra Life this year, Brand and I had a shiny hunting competition that I somehow lost, even with having 80 perfect Pokédex pages, but that's fine, only a little bitter. It was still so much fun. I guess for the sake of this video not being 500 hours long, I will stop my gushing over this game. But I hope, dear viewer, it is coming across to you how much I just absolutely adore this game. I've been a fan of Pokemon longer than I've known about or liked literally anything else in my entire life up to this point, and I think this is my favorite Pokemon game I've ever played. So if that means anything to you, take that as you will. I hope Pokemon Legends becomes its own spin-off series and this wasn't just a one-off game, because I really truly believe they have something here. If they can just keep building on it, make it a little bit better, maybe do a different region next time, like maybe the Gen 5 remakes whenever that happened. They do a Pokemon Legends Victini or whatever they want to do. Whatever they do, I just hope they're able to continue to capture the magic of Pokemon Legends Arceus, my game of 2022. And there you have it. The 2022 Games of the Year videos are completely done. I hope you guys enjoyed watching these. Let me know, what was your biggest surprise on the list? What was your favorite game of the year? Where did I go the most wrong? I already know it's Elden Ring. I get it. Just skip that one. What else did I get wrong in this list? And thank you all for a great 2022. I was able to stream a lot more. I hit affiliate this year. We had another successful Extra Life stream. Did some really cool Let's Plays. Did Ghost of Tsushima. We did Uncharted. Got big plans for 2023 to hopefully keep this thing rolling. And just thank you to everybody for making this a great year on the channel. I really appreciate it. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please share, like, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at SwillyGames. Follow me on Twitch at SwillyStreams. Until next time, listen to my dad, and I'll see you in 2023.